And if they expect me to walk away from Luton with nothing, I'll make very sure there's nothing to walk away from.
Hello and welcome to the ORH Podcast, which is of course part of the TalkSport Fan Network. Here today, joining me is Jamie Castle and Kieren Robertson. Jamie, how are you?
Yeah, pretty good. It feels like the excitement is building now. What are we, 4 weeks or so to the season? A nice little trip to Deutschland coming up that's been announced today. And just sort of playing new signings, kit potentially tomorrow, or sort of obviously, so it's Monday recording this, so potentially kit tomorrow. The excitement is building, and yeah, I can't wait for it all to come.
How about yourself, Kieren?
Yeah, same as Jamie. I think everything's just sort of taken up that next gear, hasn't it? We were speaking about last week, pre-season being a bit underwhelming. One announcement, and all of a sudden, excitement's gone from a 1 to a 10. Big trip planned already, as you may have seen through the Twitter sphere. Going away to Bochum, new ground, 1 of 3, hopefully that weekend. So stay tuned on the Oak Road Hatter for all of that good stuff. But all things considered, happy as Larry, boys.
Bill, you know, when we got Kieren on board, I had no idea how good his bloody internal marketing skills were. Like whenever he mentions something, he always plugs something. It's just, who needs a media manager when you got Kieren Robertson? Like,
yeah, he's brilliant.
That's compliment I'll get.
As both have alluded to, there's been a lot of exciting news over the last few days, and we're going to go right through all of that. Before we get started, a quick plug to our YouTube channel, continuing to try and grow that out, and it's been a lot of love on there so far. So big thank you to everyone watching and listening. It's been brilliant so far. Of course, we are Oak Road Hatter on YouTube, and also a quick plug to the podcast on Spotify. If you can continue rating us at 5 stars, that would be much appreciated. Diving into the news now, where best to start, it's probably Tahith Chong arriving as our record signing again. We've done it for a second time where we've broken our own transfer record. We've done it 3 times in about 12 months. It's becoming quite a theme, Jamie Castle.
Yeah, it's a theme that he's not quite getting used to yet. Up until Sluga hadn't spent 7 figures on a player, and now he's done it 4 times in 2.5, 3 years. Really exciting. Chong, the sort of the new record, and again, it just shows the impact of Premier League football. With sort of there's a market of players that up until a month ago we were nowhere near. There was no chance we would possibly have got Chong on a permanent. So we got him for 5 million. Still loads of ceiling to go in terms of his potential. He's one that, again, you say it all the time, but someone he's got a point to prove. Technically fantastic, and you back the coaches to get everything out of him. I guess we'll go on to where we see him fitting into the system, but overall, really excited with the signing.
Yeah, it's one you cannot help but be excited about, as sort of you alluded to there. He's at a very good age. He is technically very good. He dealt us that single-handed battering in that game against Birmingham. So Kieren, coming on to you, Jamie sort of mentioned it there. Where do you see him fitting in the current system? We're assuming that the current system that was successful for us in the Championship will be moved into the Premier League. I guess we can assume that, but ultimately, where do you see Chong playing next season? Should he be a regular starter?
I think currently it's one of those where, like you said, stick with the same system. You're looking at that sort of Jordan Clark role in that midfield three. Obviously, traditionally he's a winger. He was at United, used as such at Birmingham, and I know there was times they used him in the middle a little bit, but more so he's been a winger by trade. So if we choose to go down that route next season, obviously the wingers, that's an option. However, at the moment, I think Rob Edwards probably sees him as that sort of step up from Jordan Clark. As much as he's given us over the last few years, I think Chong is that sort of, it's that next step. Like I mentioned before about being great and then elite in a couple of pods ago, that's that sort of next step for me from Clark to Chong.
Yeah, I think being versatile was so important. I think as Kieren alluded to, up until this summer, we didn't really have many sort of out and out wingers. Obviously, you got Onyedinma is a winger, and that is his role. Obviously, playing at wing back. But other than that, there wasn't really anyone that you could say is an out and out winger. So to have a Bene now and then Chong as well, who can play out wide, I think if it comes to October, November, and we're playing the system that's done so well, but actually in the Premier League is struggling to adapt. I think sort of the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and getting the same results or the same bad results. So it will come a time where if after 10, 15 games and you're still getting the same result, then at least we've got the ability to switch system, potentially go to a 4-2-3-1 with wingers or Bene right, Chong left, for example. So it gives us the ability just to be tactically versatile, and that's someone that Rob Edwards will be brilliant at, no doubt, next season in the Premier League, being able to adapt based on game state and who we're playing against. But yeah, primarily I agree. I think he'll be in that Jordan Clark type role. Nathan Jones was banging on loads of times about getting a left-footed attacking midfielder. We got that in Dewsbury Hall, who was fantastic. Obviously, couldn't get him on a permanent. Got it in Luke Freeman, but he wasn't ever, I guess, of the ability to be a sort of a first-team starter, in my opinion. But now Chong certainly has that, and certainly has the potential to be a very good Premier League sort of attacking midfielder. And he's left-footed. He's young. So it seems like we finally, I guess, tick that box that we've wanted to tick for so long.
Very good age, as we sort of mentioned there as well, 23 years old. And you think if, for example, we have a very good season, if he has a very good season and we don't quite follow and we do get relegated, there's potential for a huge resale value as well, which is as difficult as it is to think about players already potentially leaving in the future. It ensures your financial security. So yeah, again, 2020 delivered very, very well. Another player, we've spoken a lot, and there's been a lot of confirmed news of players signing new deals at Luton since promotion's been confirmed. Elijah Adebayo is the next player that has penned down a new deal. We don't know the details. We don't know how long it's for, but it's, secures his time at Luton for at least another couple of years, which is great news. A player like Chong that's, nowhere near his finished article as yet, but still a lot of time. Coming to you, Kieren, Adebayo signs a new deal. What kind of role do you see for Adebayo next season? Of course, he's formed very good relationships with Cornick when he was at the club and Morris. Do you think that going into the Premier League, he's going to be as regular of a starter or part of a rotation kind of attacking unit?
I think initially he's going to be part of the starting two. I think it would be wrong of us to not trust Eli and Morris. We trusted them a lot last season. They obviously paid through. I want to see them trusted again, at least at the start. At the end of the day, I know we're rumoured with a couple of other targets up front, or at least have been before. I'm sure we're going to get onto that later in the pod. But as it stands, at least for the start of the season, give them both the chance to shine, give them both the chance to prove themselves in the Prem. If and when Rob sees fit that we need to bring in someone else, I'm sure that will be the case. And I think out of the two, Eli is the most likely to drop to the bench as opposed to Morris. I could be wrong, but at least that's my input at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. I think the word underrated probably isn't accurate. I think he certainly is rated amongst Luton fans, but I think he certainly does a lot more than some Luton fans give him credit for. I think if you look at stats, goals and assists, you probably only just reached double figures. But in terms of what he did in the actual games, he was fantastic at times with his work rate and sort of chasing down the ball. And I think I just watch the playoff final goal over and over again. And just in terms of technical ability, I appreciate it's only Callum McFadden, but he turned him inside and out. And you just think, okay, it's not a Ruben Dias and it's not a Martinez at United, but there'll be a lot of centre halves in the Premier League that can't deal with that sort of that chopping and turning. So certainly back him to certainly step up to the Premier League in terms of the sort of between both boxes style of play. Maybe he might struggle in terms of goal contributions, but in terms of the actual game contribution, the wider tactical system, I think he'll step up for sure.
Yeah, I think he's weirdly he's one of those players, like you said, like players are going to have a hard time dealing with him. He's very unpredictable. Like for a guy who's 6'3", pushing 6'4", he's got very quick feet, as the playoff final showed. And you don't expect a player of that size you expect them to just hold the ball up, tap it to feet, play it off. But he's like, okay, I've got that game in me, but I've also got this second dimension to my game as well, where it's I can heel chop round you, I'll take it through your legs, that sort of thing. He loves to run down the wing, cut inside. He's not afraid to do that. And the same thing with the work ethic as well. I think there's a reason you look at a lot of the time when he's substituted, he's limping off. And it's not because he's injured. It's genuinely because he just run himself to the ground for the team for 75, 80 minutes. And a lot of people think, oh, all he does is this, all he does is that. It's like, but think about what he does off the ball. Just because he doesn't have the ball all the time, or just because what he does with the ball doesn't mean it's an assist or a goal. Like you said, Jamie, like people assume that the be-all and end-all is just goals and assists for a striker, when actually that's the whole point of a partnership. Look at how Morris has flourished this year, and I think without Eli, he wouldn't have scored half the goals he'd have scored.
And we've spent the first part of this episode looking at the playing squad. Talk about Chong, who's been added, and looking at Eli, who has penned a new deal. We'll now look to the staff. The staff has been added to as well. Andrew Findlay has joined the club as an analyst coach, and also Alan McCormack has been promoted to the first team after doing a very, very good job with the under-18s last season. He comes in as a set-piece specialist, the old Alan Sheehan role. Good news on both fronts with those two coming in. I guess Findlay is more of an unknown entity given my knowledge about him so far, but I did listen to a good interview that he's done. Sounds very knowledgeable, sounds very tactical, but also a very good person. And as Luton fans always know, being a good person gets you very far at that club. And Alan McCormack, we know him very well as a time as a player, the kind of leadership he brought, and then obviously transitioned very well into a coaching role within the academy. And now he's been given his chance in the first team. So Jamie, having these two on board, it's got to be a positive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on Findlay, like you, don't know too much about him, but I guess the word pedigree was used a lot by Nathan Jones before in terms of where someone has been, and you don't work for Man City or for the Norway national team without being good, right? You saw it with Graham Jones for England, where he didn't do too well as manager of Luton, but as a coach, he certainly got the pedigree and the ability as a coach. So I think Findlay is probably of a similar type where he's a great coach, especially what he's doing. And Alan McCormack, great to see another former Luton player in the setup. I think was it Alan Sheehan was a set piece coach before and haven't quite filled that since his departure. So for McCormack to take up that role is brilliant. He's definitely done so well for the under-18s. I think that they won loads of games. I think was it like their division they won as well. So yeah, in terms of his ability as a coach, there's no doubt in that because it's gone through in the results at under-18 level. So yeah, to put him in a already thriving setup with Charles and Richie and Edwards, I think he'll thrive as well. And it just takes a bit of workload off of other coaches and just sort of allows everyone to contribute and add their ideas, which can only benefit the team.
100%. And Kieren, the only time I can ever associate Alan McCormack with a corner is when he opened his account with that volley just outside the area. So is that going to be a common theme? Are we going to score a load of volleys from just outside the penalty box for corners?
Deliberately head it outside so Chong can slap it in from 25 yards, top corner. one-trick pony, 15 goals a season. I mean, wouldn't say no. But realistically, I think you think of how we ended last week's pod and we were sort of speaking about former players and keeping them within the club and how that sort of translates for the whole ethos of the club. Same thing with Adam McCormack is just another example. Had it with Sheehan before, had it with McCormack now. It's that familiarity. It's the expectations of the club. It's the standards of the club. You keep those players around that know the standards and know what's expected of Luton and keeps that ethos sort of on brand and keeps that culture. I actually listened to Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett's pod the other day, and he had Frank Lampard on. And Lampard was talking about how in his day, no matter who the manager was, there was always a culture and there was always standards set by that spine of the team. You think of that Lampard, Terry, Drogba, Czech sort of spine, as it were. And he said that when he then went back as the second time he went back as manager, the culture was gone. The standards were gone because new people would come in, but the standards hadn't phased down. Luckily, we've not had that. We have kept the same standards. We kept the same expectations. And if anything, the culture has built, the culture has got stronger. Alan McCormack coming in and, well, staying in and technically getting a promotion, again, only means good things.
And going on to something else, a actual football match. Luton beat Peterborough United 3-1 in a friendly before they headed out to Slovenia. Goals from Colton Morris, a trademark header. McAtee, very, very nice strike. If you've seen the highlights, definitely the pick of the bunch. And Dion Pereira getting a header also. As what happens when we play against Peterborough, Johnson Clark Harris was the scorer of Peterborough's goal. There's not too much we can really say about this. No, we've only really seen the highlights. That's all there was. I guess my only question is, good to get the legs ticking over before going out to Slovenia. It's good that they've had at least one outing before going out on this this difficult but picturesque trip to Slovenia.
Yeah, I always find it hard to take too much from, I guess, the early preseason games. Maybe as we get towards Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday, we can start reading into things. But the early ones, you sort of take with a pinch of salt. But always good for your strikers to score in Morris, and good to see everyone get a run out and not get injured. It was at St George's Park, and that obviously adds a lot of sort of, I don't know, if you see teams train there, they always say about how good St George's Park is. So it's a good sign that the team have had the ability just to play there and train there for a little bit. And then in terms of the second half, it was the more sort of the second core of players that probably are looking at low moves in McAtee and Pereira. So good to see them get some match fitness and match game was under their belt, and hopefully they can get some good loans. It'd be good to see McAtee and Pereira maybe League One top half there or thereabouts. So all good stuff. Yeah, not really much else to say, but it's nice. It's a novelty to be on a football podcast and talk about football.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Going on to a few more pre-season fixtures. There's the big one that we've already spoken about against Bochum. We've I think 2 different 11s will play, 2 different games. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, Luton on tour. It's an exciting time to be a Hatter ahead of this Premier League season. Perhaps not as glorious, and I don't know how true it is. I don't know if it's been confirmed by the club or anything, but when you type in Luton fixtures, the first one that comes up is Luton versus Ashdod, Friday the 21st of July. So it must be a part of the Slovenia preparations. And just to round it off, we've also got Ipswich Town on Tuesday the 25th of July. We've got Sheffield Wednesday on the 29th of July. And rounding it all off, we've got Wolves away 2nd of August, 7:30 kickoff. So it's going to be quite a strenuous task when they get back. They'll get back to this country and probably won't have too much time to relax before some good tests come up. Ipswich Town, in my eyes, are going to do quite well in the Championship next season. Sheffield Wednesday, physical. They're a physical outfit. They showed that last year in League One. And then Wolves will be, I think, Kieren, you spoke about it last week, but a very good opportunity to see where we're at ahead of the start of the Premier League season. We'll go on to the fixture that's been postponed now. So, of course, we were set to play Burnley as our first home game in the Premier League. That's been postponed. And listening to Gary Sweet, it's more making sure that we don't get sanctioned or there's no potential sort of disappointments that come from it, and just making sure that we are in a position to fulfill that fixture. And whilst Gary Sweet can be confident that we're working ahead of schedule, he's not fully sure that at this point we'll be able to get that fixture played. So taken the sort of correct decision to call that game off. Means our first home game at Kenilworth Road in the Premier League will be West Ham United, I think I'm right in saying, on the 1st of September. Gives us that little bit more time. But also, within his interview with TalkSport, he mentioned that Kenilworth Road will not be the smallest ground in the Premier League next season. It's the little ones, It's the little ones. Of course, it was very, very close between us and Bournemouth's Vitality Stadium, but with the ongoing work to the old Bubba stand, Kenilworth Road will have a higher capacity, than AFC Bournemouth. It's interesting to see how that all works out. But Jamie, just coming to you, the images and the drone shots look brilliant at the moment. I don't know what it is. It's just the fact that everything's so new, and just looking at there being no boxes there, just I can't process it still.
Yeah, so weird. You remember going back to when we got promoted to the Championship and then seeing the LED advertising boards and the square goal nets was just, in itself was pretty wild, and had a feel of, God damn, we've made it to like the big leagues. But now to see the bobber stand that like we only know, obviously our dads know it pre boxes, but we only know the bobbers as being sort of the conservatories, right? So to see that be knocked down and actually have proper seats in, and no doubt wider dugouts, and it seems like they're putting in pretty decent new floodlights as well. So it's going to be exciting to see more fans outside, and hope that will just improve the atmosphere further, right? If that end is fully Luton and got Luton fans on the touchline like they are on the main stand side, then that's only gonna help us. So you think the right back, when they're shooting towards the Oak Road end, get some sort of time to think when they're on that side of the boxes, but hopefully no more when there's also fans outside as well. On the postponement, I think it's a fairly sensible business decision. Obviously, I think the board would have loved to have played that Burnley game, but if you can't guarantee, you can't guarantee, and there's no need to take that risk. And the last thing we want is to get a sanction down the line or a week before because we can't do it in time. Fairly sensible, and there's something rather exciting about the first Premier League game being against sort of London club West Ham under the lights on a Friday night. That's just going to be some occasion. Hopefully, after two decent away results as well, hopefully the fans are buzzing after one win in the draw, Brighton away, Chelsea away.
It'll be a Declan Rice-less West Ham as well, after his 9-figure transfer to. How are we talking about being in the same division as a club that have just completed a 9-figure move for a player? Like, what is
pocket change? I think
we've spoken. Yeah, we could have done that with our with the money we got from promotion, as many fans of other Premier League clubs would have wanted us to do. For that's the bit I don't get. Why do other fans ambition. Want us to? Yeah, why do they want us to complete these moves? It doesn't make sense to me, but that's a completely different topic. That is something for another day. One thing I was going to say as well, Jamie, I think I said it to you maybe a year ago, even 18 months ago. I would have loved to have done a pod in one of those executive boxes. Imagine that. Yeah. Imagine the backdrop of having Kenilworth Road behind us for one of those.
But that was definitely on our running chalkboard, wasn't it? Of sort of future longer term ideas was to do a pod somewhere, and one of the boxes was on that list of draft ideas. But unfortunately, no more. But yeah, I'm sure there's going to be other areas to do a pod at some point. Maybe in a brand new exec box at Power Court in the years to come. Who knows?
Well, now we're going to go into a little break. When we come back, we're going to go into the free polls of this week, and we'll also go into a little bit of the latest transfers. Welcome back to episode 90 of the ORH Podcast. And now, as mentioned before, we're going to go on to the free polls of the week. Some interesting ones this week, as we sort of alluded to in the news. It's been a very busy week for Luton, of course, going out to Slovenia, contracts, the continued chat about which players might be coming in. It's an exciting time to be a Luton Town fan. We've probably said that a lot this summer already. But we'll go into the free polls, and the first one of this evening was, can you see Luton spending £10 million plus on a player this summer? And for a little bit of context, Luton were linked with a player, Joseph Martinez from Atlanta
United, yeah.
Yeah, it's the one that always stumbles me. And the report suggests that he's valued at £10 million. So we put out, can you see Luton spending that kind of money? Our three answers were either yes, yes with add-ons, or no. And a good 500 people voted. So thank you very much to everyone getting involved. And before I reveal the how the poll went, I'll come to you first, Kieren. Can you see Luton spending 10 million plus?
I think I voted yes with add-ons, but kind of with a slight interest in yes, full stop as well. The Joseph Martinez rumour, if Messi and Busquets hadn't literally just signed for Miami, probably would have had a bit more traction. I can imagine that he's like Bury Park or Miami Beach with Messi. I know which one I prefer. Saying that, and he is club captain over at Miami, which I didn't know. That may change now. But generally speaking, yeah, like we've broken our transfer record twice, and I mentioned a couple of pods ago about return of investment and sort of the board looking at a transfer and thinking, right, is this going to be worth our money? Yes or no, whether it's over the course of one season we go down or the course of 2 seasons or 3, however else. Like, let's use Martinez as an example now, like 30 years old, striker. I've seen a lot of tweets the last day or two basically implying that the MLS is a terrible standard of league. And I'm quite a big MLS advocate personally. And even in leagues that are not as good, and some, if you want to use Twitter language, farmers leagues, players can stand out and players can still be very good, despite the quality of the league not being as good. And in this case, Joseph Martinez stands out for me. Like when he was playing for Atlanta United, they won the MLS Cup in their second season, and he scored a bucket load of goals. Into Miami at the moment, fine, they're not doing very good, but he's their standout player still, despite the team not performing very well. And if you were to say to me, you're going to pay 10 million for Joseph Martinez tomorrow, do you want him? Yes or no? I'd say yes, absolutely. But then is that because maybe I know a bit more about him and I can make a more informed decision? Probably. But generally speaking, whether it's a youngster in a couple of seasons or Martinez now, yes, we are going to break that 10 million record at some point. And I think the people saying no are just quite scared of that idea, like scared of that risk. I think it's not necessarily a case of, oh no, I don't want to do it. It's like well, I'd like to, but what if we spend 10 million and he flops? Because we don't necessarily have the privilege that a Man City could do. They could spend 10 million willy-nilly, and if he flops, he flops. They don't care. Whereas for us, if he flops, it genuinely has a detriment to us at the moment, anyway.
Jamie, do you agree with that? Were you in the same camp as Kieren with what you went for?
Yeah, I voted yes with add-ons. And I guess I thought about it in a bit more detail because one of my bosses at work basically was asking me sort of like, what do you think the budget is this year for Luton in terms of players? And it sort of got me thinking, and I sort of landed on about 25 million quid was sort of where I see that budget being. And if the reports are right, we've spent 8 so far, 8 or 9 on Anderson and Chong combined. So we've probably got a good 15 mil or so to play with. So I think yes, we will break it, but I think with add-ons. So yeah, I'm not sure who that's going to be on, but I guess it seems like at the minute we're sort of finding players and getting them for below market value. So Chong, he's definitely worth more than 5 million in my opinion. Anderson, again, probably worth more than 3 million. Not much more, but certainly more. So if we can find what we deem to be a 15, 20 million pound player and we can get him for 8 or 9 plus add-ons, then absolutely, I think the board will jump at that opportunity. I think a lot has spoken about the strategy of 2020 in terms of being good with money, and I think sometimes that gets misrepresented to be don't spend too much and sort of keep the purse strings tight, when actually it's they can spend wisely. They spend at the right times on the right things and just spend wisely. So they certainly aren't afraid to make a bit of a calculated gamble. Sluga was a calculated gamble. At that point, we thought, bloody hell, we're spending £1.2 million on a foreign goalkeeper. Like, what is this? But it was a gamble. It was calculated. Did it pay off? Probably in hindsight, overall, no, in terms of what we thought could have happened. But I think he certainly did enough in terms of keeping us up. So yeah, if an opportunity presented itself to spend £10 million with or without add-ons for a player that we felt could impact the league and impact our squad, then absolutely the board will do that.
Yeah, certainly an interesting one. I don't know enough about Martinez. I haven't watched him enough to really claim that I think he will be the one that will spend 10 million plus on. But yeah, I'm in the same camp of yes with add-ons. But looking at the poll, we're in the minority because there was 17% who outright put yes. There was 27% that went yes with add-ons, and the overwhelming winner was 56%, with no. Going on to poll 2, and before we get on to what's been said about this potential rumour, although this rumour does suggest that there has been a link, would you like to see Ryan Giles arrive at Kenilworth Road this summer? As we mentioned, he's a player that's been linked as of today. And I'll come to you first, Jamie. Would you want to see Ryan Giles come in at Kenilworth Road?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a tough one because we've got Alfie Doughty there that is absolutely probably one of the best players in the squad per that position at left wing back. I think he's outstanding. So it almost seems a bit of a why are we spending money to strengthen a position that doesn't really need strengthening as first choice. But again, going back to the market value piece, it seems like it's sort of 5 million there or thereabouts will be enough, and that's below market value, right? And to get someone who could definitely impact the league, who did great for Borough last year. I think, what was it, 11 or 12 assists from left wing back. I think he would only add to the squad. A player that's under market value, and I guess it seems like we're looking to strengthen that in that position because we were linked with Ryan Manning, who obviously went to Southampton in the end. So it seems like we are looking to add another left wing back, and if we can get one of the Championship's best players for last season for only £5 million, that's a snip, and I think we should definitely do it.
Kieren, are you on the same boat there that Ryan Giles would be a good signing for Luton Town? Of course, we've got Alfie Doughty, somebody that we've all raved about, but that element of competition, that element of strengthening the squad and continuing to have options in all different positions and having depth. Do you think that Ryan Giles would be the kind of player that bolsters competition? Do you think he's somebody that could even challenge Doughty to a starting position? Where's your thinking with this one?
I'd say sort of if people are thinking we're trying to build a Championship super team, signing Ryan Giles 100% confirms that sort of entity, as it were. If you were to say to me, top 3 players in the left wing back position in the Championship last year, you look at Alfie Doughty, you look at Ryan Giles, you look at Ryan Manning. Like Jamie said then, Ryan Manning, he's gone to Saints. He'll probably by far and large be the best wing back in the league that season, unless Ryan Giles stays there. I know Middlesbrough are in for him as well, about the same price, about 5 million. But again, it comes back to competition. Like in the Premier League, you need 2 good players in every position because there's going to be different games for different players. And just because they both play the same position doesn't mean they both play the same, right? And I mentioned a little while ago about Doughty potentially playing further forward or having the ability to do so. Giles, I think, also fits in that category. So if we were to further down the line play wingers, what's the harm in playing both of them at the same time? One could play further forward, one plays further back. They can overlap each other. You get the gist. Equally, again, competition breeds better players. Like if you're competing against someone, you want to hold down that slot in the first 11. You are naturally going to be a better player. So if you have someone like Ryan Giles, who is basically on par with Doughty, in my opinion, for ability, it's only going to make each other better players, let alone just Doughty. So for me, hands down, get him in.
Yeah, I think that competition point is an interesting one. I think as much as we love Morris, Clark, Adebayo, Lockyer, Osho, Bell, Doughty, etc., we all love them. We all think they're fantastic players, and we're confident that they can all make that step up to the Premier League. But it is likely that one or two of those just can't and just don't, because they might get found out in a certain situation. They might lose confidence, and it might turn out that one of them don't. And if that player is Doughty and you can't step up to the Premier League, and we've got Ryan Giles there to sort of back him up and compete, then at least it sort of mitigates the risk that one player in one position who we all love doesn't quite make the step up. So that competition is massive. And then on I guess versatility of system, I can certainly see going away from home, away at Man City, going a flat 4-5-1 with Giles left back and Doughty left mid. So just to double up on a Grealish or a Foden. So yeah, I think there will definitely be situations where you play both at the same time next season.
Can we play a left back and a left wing back against Man City? Is that allowed?
It would be probably a back eight with two fullbacks either side, I think.
So pretty much looking at this poll, the Luton fan base are in agreement with what Jamie and Kieren have said. We've got 80% at yes, they would like to see Ryan Giles arrive at Kenilworth Road, and there was 20% at no. That leads us into our third and final poll for this week, and that is, who is it heading out to Germany? As we've sort of mentioned, the game's coming up against Bochum, and during our little break, because Jamie and Kieren are going, they were taking the piss really that I just skipped past it because I didn't want them to speak about it. So I'll let you two tune in. I'm going to mute you both and just give me the thumbs up when you're done. I can come back in. But I'll give you the results of the poll, and then I'll let you two get away with it. It was 10% at yes, they're going. There was 22% that are undecided, and there was 68% no. So go on. Let you two speak, and I'll sit here quietly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not surprised by the amount of no's, to be honest. I think the fact, in terms of it being late notice, is probably fed into a lot of that. I mean, amongst the Oak Road lot, is only me and Kieren going because people have already booked other holidays and plans, and there's only so long you can hold off. So that's I guess that's the one frustration in terms of the announcement, is because it took so long. But my dad can't go because he's got plans that he's already away. So yeah, frustrating for the guys that can't make it. But yeah, for me and Kieren, buzzing, can't wait. I mean, for anyone that is close to us or follows us or knows us personally, they know that we love our European football trips. We've done it loads of times before, especially that northwest Germany / Holland area. So to get Bochum away, which is a new ground, we are ground hoppers and love to sort of add to our tally. So to do that, but to follow the club we love in Luton is just a bit of a dream come true, really. You sort of think that one of the only chances you can get to play in Europe is if you're a top 7 Premier League side. Obviously, in recent years, sort of the past 5 to 10 years, there's been a few pan-European friendlies. So for Luton to now be in that position where we can have one of those it's fantastic. Love Germany, cannot wait for it. In terms of a game, it's going to be a good game. I think Bochum are a similar sort of level to Luton. They're second or third year Bundesliga side now, and it's a proper industrial town in Germany. So spot on game for Luton, and yeah, bring it on. Can't wait.
Yeah, like the sort of similar mindset to Jamie here, where obviously people that know us, whether you follow us on Twitter or know us more personally, we love our ground hops. Like we've had teams that we sort of go and follow, whether it be sort of a Bayer Leverkusen. Jamie, I know, has been to Roma and Sevilla a couple of times. Most recently for the pair of us, obviously PSV Eindhoven was stuck out for us, and luckily Bochum away the night before, PSV are away at Feyenoord for the Super Cup, and this guy here, may have blagged us 2 tickets for that as well, which is bloody wonderful. But in terms of all these trips we've done, every single time has been a reoccurring thing. We've always looked at each other and just thought, imagine the day that this is Luton. And at some point, it's always like, yeah, imagine, like, yeah, whatever. And then this week, it's become an actual reality, and you're like, oh my God. And Bochum, for me, there was a couple of tweets, and I was a bit annoyed at them, where people were like, oh, is that it? Is that it? Like, what do you mean, is that it? Like a top flight Bundesliga club. And you're saying, is that it? Equally, the thing for me is, you alluded to then, they're quite a similar level to us. Their fans on Twitter are welcoming us in with open arms already, by the way, which is really nice. And I'm hoping we can have a few drinks with a few Bochum lot, and then they end up following the podcast and we get massive because of VFL Bochum. But in terms of level, that is a really good test. Like I said about Wolves last week, Wolves is a good test because we're going to be playing them twice next year. They finished bottom half of the Prem. It's a good idea to see where we're at. But Bochum is as well, testing ourselves against European opposition who are in the sort of bottom half of the Bundesliga, who are in that sort of top flight era of their own. It's going to be a big test. And imagine coming away from that weekend and being like, we've just gone to Bochum, beaten them once or twice, and we've had a great time while doing it. And like for those of us that get to go, like we're gutted for those that can't, whether it be work or holiday or whatever else. But for us that get to go, that genuinely has a chance, like especially for us younger generation who's not seen any European football whatsoever for Luton. It's going to be mental and will live in the memory bank for quite a long time. And I'm sure you'll have to hear about it on Twitter for weeks and months to come.
Yep, can't wait.
There you go.
Can't
Bill,
wait to hear
thumb
about
up, we're done, by the way, if we're on mute.
Bill is fuming. Pass it on.
To be fair, you're a good salesman. If anybody wants to take my holiday, then yeah, I'm more than happy.
I mean, to be fair, lads, like also you mentioned about me plugging everything. Me and Jamie are going to be sort of vlogging this whole adventure following Luton away. Like it's a bit different going to Man City or whatever else. Like we want to enjoy the moment, but this feels appropriate to share and allow you guys to experience it with us as well. And it is low key the start of a future project for me and Jamie as well, which we'll allude to further down the line, and you'll see in sort of the pipeline with the vlog, as it were. But that'll obviously come out in August. Maybe I might release it on my birthday as like a little birthday present for everyone. But yeah, basically, keep your eyes peeled on YouTube for that because it's going to be bloody brilliant.
I can't wait for that, to be fair. You might take the piss out of me being jealous, but that is something I'm looking forward to, seeing all that put together. It's a very, very exciting project. But moving on, we'll go on to the transfer rumours for this week. And there's been a fair few, as there has been over the last few weeks. We tend to bring about 5 or 6 of them. And again, it's hit that kind of mark. So the first one here is Ross Stewart is apparently on Luton's radar, according to the Northern Echo. The Sunderland striker scored 10 goals in 13 league games last season, spent a lot of the campaign out injured. But Stoke City and Middlesbrough are also in for him. Of course, Luton have the Premier League advantage if we were to go down that route. But Stoke and Middlesbrough probably have that more immediate need to bring in a striker, and a starting striker that is. Whereas Luton, he sort of probably falls into that kind of rotation category. The next one, Issa Kabore, who is Manchester City right wing back. He spent last season out on loan at Marseille, played 29 times, gained very good European experience, as we just alluded to there. That was from the Daily Mail. Going on to Joseph Martinez, that we've already spoken about in a little bit of detail. According to the Sun, Luton are interested in him. Inter Miami value him at £10 million. That's the price tag, but Luton, by the report, unwilling to go to that kind of valuation at this stage. Also, Tom Heaton, a name that's been linked with Luton throughout this transfer window. The latest update from the Sun is that Luton have retained interest as Manchester United try to solve their goalkeeping conundrum. Of course, Manchester United are looking to. I think, have they signed Onana? They're looking.
It's currently at Romano here we go stage. So yeah, it's basically done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good as done. It's good as done. Which could pave the way for Luton to then go out and get the 37-year-old. And then, as we've already spoken about as well, Ryan Giles, the left wing back, who is permanently at Wolves but spent last season on loan at Middlesbrough, enjoyed a very, very good season, 11 assists in 45 appearances, fantastic left foot, very good crosser of the ball, and just a real creative gem. That is a report. The report that was latest was from Team Talk that attached a £5 million valuation, and that said that bids have been made, offers have been made, but whether they are at that £5 million mark is to be seen. As said there, Middlesbrough are also in for him, so that's going to be a very interesting battle. Coming to you, boys, there's a lot of rumours there. There's a lot of players to sort of go through, but what stands out for you, Mr. Jamie Castle? Which player there makes you think, wow, he's going to improve Luton Town Football Club?
For me, I think probably the one at the minute is Issa Kabore. I think Cody Drama we've not managed to get, and it seems like we probably won't. There's not been too much come out. He's training with Leeds, and maybe the price tag Luton deemed too high. So yeah, Kabore, it will be a loan only because he's a City youngster, but I hope we can get something in the contract, maybe as like a permanent option. But yeah, great pedigree. Marseille last season, but appeared 29 times. I think a lot of them were off the bench, but still to be Marseille second choice right back, you've got to have something about you. The fact that they've had you on a shortlist somewhere speaks volumes. Very athletic, ball carrier, probably lacks a bit of sort of final ball ability, but ultimately at our stage we're not going to get the perfect right wing back. So someone that will definitely come in and improve the team. And part of me's already got an idea of a song to Latzamore. So yeah, I hope he can come in and we could fulfill a Issa Kabore song. So.
What about you, Kieren? Is Kabore the one that stands out for you, or is there any other names within that list that you think would improve the club?
He does. Of course, he stands out to me. I am going to mention another name, but he stands out to me in the sense of it's no mean feat playing 29 times for Marseille, and they finished second last year. Am I right? Second, third. The fact he's played in Europe as well at such a young age is highly appealing, especially for a team like us. But I wouldn't be the MLS advocate that I am without obviously mentioning the man, Joseph Martinez. Mentioned him at the start. The second that I saw that report on Twitter, I was convinced it was fake. And I mean, it's Alan Nixon, so it could be here or there. But a lot of things with Luton he's got right recently. So therefore, his credibility is this way. So I'm going to take it with a lot less bit of a pinch of salt and a bit more reality. And I mentioned on Twitter, it's a statement signing. It's the sort of player that if you watch MLS, and I normally don't implore you to make a judgment by just watching YouTube compilations, but if you are listening to this right now, after the pod, go on YouTube and look at compilations of this man, and you will see what I mean about bagging goals for fun. He's a showman, scores goals, has track records of winning trophies, even if people go, oh, but it's only the MLS Cup. Either way, he's got a track record of being a bagsman and a very, very good striker. 5'9", about that, offers something different, very quick, very direct. Like I said, scored goals for fun. It's one of those where we said about the Eli Morris thing, trusting them at the start of the season. If that doesn't work out, that is a very interesting player to turn to or an interesting dynamic. And for me, I like a character. And if we can get a player like him, who is a showman, to buy into Luton Town, it's a statement signing in that respect. Because if he's buying into us and he's buying into our project and he's buying into our team, who else from the outside as a player is going to look at that and go, well, bloody hell, if they're signing Joseph Martinez and he wants to go there, who doesn't want to in that respect? So that's the one that stands out for me. And also because it'd be by far and large our record signing, and it'd probably pee off a few people knowing that we've signed him over a few other European clubs as well.
I just can't wait for all the wacky flags that are coming next year. We've got potentially Burkina Faso with Kabore. We've got hopefully Zimbabwe again with Nakamba. We've got the potentially Venezuela with Martinez. I'm looking forward to all the wacky flags being held by fans of the Kenny.
See, I'm not usually a man that's like, you get the cardboard signs where it's like, give me your shirt. I would happily chase after Joseph Martinez for a Luton Martinez shirt and hold up a Venezuela flag. Like, yeah, come on, boys. Let's have a bit of that. He would be a really, really good signing. I'd like him.
So that's a big yes from Kieren then for Joseph Martinez. Well, that just about draws up today's episode. Before we go today, just a quick reminder. I know we reminded you at the start, but we'll remind you again. Please subscribe to our new YouTube channel, Oak Road Hatter. It's the same as everything else. It's not too difficult to remember. It's a social wide name now.
Apart from the Instagram.
Yeah. We'll have to sort that out one day, I'm sure. But yes, please check us out. Check out other videos that we've done, but also check our other socials. And also on Spotify, please rate us 5 stars. That helps it grow massively. And a big thank you to everybody that's watched, listened, and appreciated the content today. And until next week, it's goodbye from us.